You are listening to The Vocal Technologist. Spoken tech for your ears.
Welcome back to The Vocal Technologist. So, we're sifting through everything that's happened this week, and I have to ask the big question.
Go for it.
In a world where a robot can code a perfect website in, 48 hours? Why is everyone in design suddenly trying so hard to make things look broken?
It's the paradox of 2026, isn't it? We finally achieve this level of technical perfection, and what's the first thing we do?
Run in the other direction.
Exactly. The pendulum is just swinging as hard as it can toward imperfection.
It's Product Thursday on a Saturday, January 31st, 2026. Glad you're here. We are looking at the state of design, and it feels, chaotic. We've got Comic-Con banning robots. Apple is stealing design talent. Android might have accidentally leaked to desktop OS, and there's a laundry detergent that wants you to put it on your mantle.
It's all connected, though. I mean, the through line is this idea of friction. For the last, 10 years, the whole point of tech was to remove friction.
Get rid of it. One-click everything.
Right. Predictive text, seamless UI, all of that. But it seems like we've hit a kind of wall. We are seeing this massive cultural pushback for friction.
Which gets us to this visibility gap idea you mentioned. But we have to start on the front lines. The San Diego Comic-Con ban.
Yeah.
This wasn't just some quiet little policy change. This felt like a cultural stand.
Oh, it was huge. And to get the context, you have to know that their first policy was, let's say, ambiguous.
Corporate.
Very corporate. It basically said AI art was fine as long as you disclosed it and didn't sell it directly. It was a total let's wait and see move.
And the artists did not wait and see.
Not for 1 second. The pushback was immediate. You had huge names, Tiana Aurelia, Carla Ortiz. These are artists who've been leading the charge on the legal front.
Right.
And they just tore it apart online. Their argument was that Comic-Con is supposed to be a celebration of human craft. If you let in generative stuff that's trained on the work of the very people in that room, you're not just changing a rule, you're insulting everyone there.
And what happened? 24 hours later, the policy was gone.
Flipped completely. Full ban. No AI art allowed. And that speed, that's what's so important here. It tells you that these safe spaces for human creativity are becoming a really valuable commodity.
Which links right up with that Stills 2026 Trends report.
It does. I mean, the data in there shows this huge fatigue with what they're calling AI-polished sameness, because tools like Midjourney V7 can spit out a flawless image. Flawless is now the default. And in design, when something becomes the default, it becomes boring.
So if perfection is cheap.
Imperfection becomes the new luxury.
Right. It's status symbol.
Exactly. The report talks about this rise of intentional weirdness. And we're not just talking, slapping a retro filter on something.
No.
We're talking cybergoth looks, scrapbook textures, things that clash on purpose. The whole point is to make something that looks like a machine wouldn't have made it. A machine loves symmetry, it loves logic. So designers are choosing chaos just to prove a human was here.
It feels like that analog resurgence we saw with vinyl records. But for, user interfaces, you even mentioned cursive writing is making a comeback.
It is. And just think about how inefficient cursive is. I mean, it's slower to write, it can be harder to read. But that effort, that's the whole point. It's a signal that someone spent time on this.
And that seems to be the entire philosophy behind Hire Yukai, this new design house.
Yeah, everyone's watching them.
The founder came from Apple, from Google Creative Lab. He knows the system inside and out. But their whole manifesto is about choosing emotion over optimization.
That's the pivot. For a decade, design was about conversion. How do we get the user from point A to B faster? Hire Yukai's whole argument is that in a world flooded with AI content, connection is way more valuable than conversion. They don't want a brand to feel like one unified system. They want it to feel like a collection of different human voices.
Which is a direct answer to the visibility gap. Let's dig into that, because those numbers from Anthropic they're kind of terrifying.
They're staggering. I mean, the data is showing that AI crawlers, bots just scraping the web, now outnumber human visitors by an insane margin. Anthropic alone sends something like 6,000 crawlers for every single human referral.
So your server logs are just robots talking to robots.
It's a ghost town full of machines. But, and this is the important part, human engagement is 17 times more valuable.
17 times?
Yeah, in terms of time on site, actual spending, emotional connection. So the visibility gap theory is basically we have to stop building for the crawlers. We have to start building what they call human sanctuaries.
Little online fortresses that are too weird for the bots to understand.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the way we're building these fortresses is also completely changing. We have to talk about vibe coding.
This is probably the biggest technical shift since, I don't know, maybe React.
Vibe coding sounds like something my nephew made up, but it's a real workflow. We're seeing tools like Cursor, like Claude Code, that let designers, people who maybe can't write code, build full apps.
It just completely lowers the barrier to entry. I saw a guide this week on building a full portfolio site, complete with an AI chatbot, in 48 hours.
Yeah.
And the person didn't write any syntax. They just described what they wanted. They vibed with the AI. They'd say, make the color palette moodier. And the AI would just rewrite the CSS.
And this isn't just for little side projects. Wix Harmony is doing this at a huge scale.
Right. Their AI agent, Aurea, isn't just a helper. It has permissions. You can literally just say, update the header on all the product pages to use the new campaign colors, and it just does it. It understands the entire structure.
Okay, but here's my worry. If the AI is writing the code and the designer is just the strategist, what happens to the architecture? We spend all this time learning atomic design, atoms, molecules, organisms. Does that just go out the window?
That is the big danger. You know, atomic design was for humans. We needed that hierarchy to keep things organized. You build a button, your atom, put it in a card, your molecule, and so on.
Right.
But an AI doesn't think like that. It thinks in flows, not hierarchies.
So if you just let the AI build whatever it wants.
You get what people are calling the monolith trap. The AI will build you a perfect button, but it might embed all the specific business logic for that one page right inside the button's code. So it works perfectly there, but the second you try to reuse that button somewhere else,
It breaks. It's carrying all this invisible baggage.
it's like building with wet cement instead of Lego bricks. So the designer's job changes. It's less about writing code and more about being the architect, enforcing good hygiene. You have to tell the AI to strip components down to their essential primitives, keep them dumb and reusable.
So we're the inspectors making sure the robots don't mess up the foundation. Speaking of foundations, it feels like the big platforms themselves are all starting to look the same. Let's talk about this glass war and the big aluminum OS leak.
Yeah, this is where the engineering and the aesthetics really start to collide. I mean, the huge story is that aluminum OS leak from Google.
Write a bug report.
A bug report showed Android running on a Chromebook, but it wasn't the Android we know. The screenshots showed a full desktop environment.
Like a real one. Status bar, notifications, the works.
Everything you'd expect from macOS or Windows, but it was running on Android. It really feels like Google's making another serious run at bridging that gap between a tablet and a laptop.
They've tried that so many times before.
They have, but the chicks are so much more powerful now. Android doesn't have to be elite OS anymore. This hints that they're aiming for true convergence, one OS that just scales perfectly from your phone up to a desktop.
And visually, they're all converging on that same glassy look. Figma just added new glass effects, and now we're seeing Android 17 testing something called liquid glass.
It's the Appleification of everything. That frosted, translucent depth used to be too expensive computationally, but our GPUs are so fast now we can just waste cycles making a volume slider look pretty.
Meanwhile, at Apple itself, they're making some big moves. John Ternus is now in charge of all design. That feels huge.
It's massive. I mean, Ternus is a hardware guy through and through. Putting him in charge of software design sends a clear signal. They see the hardware and the software as one single thing, and then they go and poach Sebastiaan de With.
The Halide guy. The camera app.
Yes. Halide is famous for making a touch interface feel tactile, like a real professional camera. Bringing him onto the main interface team suggests Apple knows its software has gotten a little bit flat. They want to bring that satisfying professional thunk back to their buttons.
It's funny because at the same time, the hardware itself is slowly vanishing. The iPhone 18 Pro rumor is that the dynamic island is shrinking another 35%.
Down to like 13.5 millimeters. Yeah, it's a slow march towards a perfect, seamless sheet of glass. And as the hardware disappears, the software has to do all the work of making an interaction feel real.
Okay, let's pivot to branding. Some really interesting moves this week, starting with Volvo releasing a font they say can save lives.
Volvo Centum. Yeah, this is just fascinating functional design. They worked with Bolton Mag on this, and the whole idea is that it's optimized for glance-based reading.
So, reading at 70 miles an hour.
Pretty much. Cognitive load is dangerous when you're driving. If a font is too complex, your brain spends a few extra milliseconds trying to figure it out. Those milliseconds matter, so they designed this font to be instantly recognizable to minimize the time your eyes are off the road.
That's incredible. Now, let's contrast that with the Donald Trump Board of Peace logo.
Yeah, from a design perspective, that one was a bit confusing.
It was rolled out at the World Economic Forum, and right away people said it looked familiar.
It looks almost exactly like the United Nations logo. You've got the olive branches, the map projection, but the key difference is the map itself. The UN logo shows the whole world. This one was cropped to show basically just North America.
Which, as a design choice, kind of undermines the message of a world peace board, doesn't it?
It creates a conflict. The symbol says global peace, but the image says North America. So the logo is fighting itself. It's a really good example of how, without a clear design rationale, you can accidentally muddle your message. Or maybe you reveal the real one.
It just felt so rushed. And then you compare that to the GoFundMe rebrand.
Which was so well done. They worked with Kodo and they just evolved their Progress Circle logo. GoFundMe wants to be more than just a place for emergencies. They want to be a whole giving ecosystem.
Right.
The rebrand just feels more mature, more solid. It's evolution, not a total reinvention.
And then, my favorite, Eat Dirt.
Oh, it's brilliant.
A laundry detergent. But instead of a big plastic jug, it comes in these beautiful illustrated tins.
The insight is just so smart. The founders realize laundry detergent is ugly, so we hide it under the sink. By making the packaging something you actually want to look at, they turned a utility product into a display piece.
You're not just buying soap, you're buying permission to leave your soap out on the counter.
That's it exactly. It's that intentional weirdness again. It's rejecting the optimized, sterile plastic jug for something with a bit of soul.
Okay, we've gone through a lot of the theory. Let's make it practical. For everyone listening who actually does this work, what are the big takeaways?
All right, number one, friction by design. We've been talking about how everything's getting faster. I think your job now is to know when to slow things down.
What do you mean by that? Make things intentionally harder to use.
Harder to mess up. When AI is generating things instantly, we need confirmation pauses. If a user is about to delete a database, don't make it one click. Add a 3-second undo window. Add a little bit of friction that makes the user stop and think. In 2026, friction is a safety feature.
I like that. Optimize for intent, not just for speed. Okay, what's number 2?
This one is for all the developers out there. Please stop making 20 different Favicon files.
I feel personally attacked. I think the last generator I used spat out like 35 PNGs.
It's just so much bloat in your site's header. The new standard is really simple. You only need 3 files. That's it.
Okay, what are they?
You need a 32 by 32 ICO file for old legacy browsers. You need one SVG, which is great because it can adapt to light mode and dark mode. And then you need one 180 by 180 PNG for Apple's home screen icons. 3 files. Delete everything else.
Simple. I love it. And the final takeaway.
Multimodal UX. We have to get past this idea of mobile first. We're in an input agnostic era now.
Because of accessibility, right?
That's a huge part of it. There are a billion people with some form of disability, but we all have situational disabilities too, right? You're driving, you're holding a baby, you're cooking, your app needs to work with your voice, with touch, with gestures, with vision, all of them. If it only works with a mouse, you are building for the past.
It's not a nice-to-have feature anymore. It's just the table stakes for 2026.
It absolutely is.
Wow. We have covered so much ground today, from philosophical fights at Comic-Con all the way down to the code for Faticons. It really feels like the big theme for 2026 is, as the robots handle the boring, optimized stuff, our job is to lean into the human stuff, the weird, the emotional, the stuff with friction.
I think that's exactly right. And if you want one last thought on just how powerful design can be, think about the doomsday clock.
Oh, great. Ending on a light note for the weekend.
Just bear with me. It's at 85 seconds to midnight right now, which is terrifying. But as a piece of information design, it's an absolute masterpiece.
How do you mean?
It takes all of these incredibly complex existential threats, nuclear war, AI risk, climate change, and it boils them all down to one single universal metaphor that anyone can understand. A clock.
Yeah, you don't need a degree to understand seconds to midnight.
No. And it proves that the best design isn't always about showing all the data. Sometimes it's about creating urgency. It creates this visceral emotional reaction that 1,000 spreadsheets never could.
That is a really powerful thought to end on. Design isn't just decoration, it's strategy. Sometimes it's a warning.
Indeed.
Well, thank you for walking us through all of this. For everyone listening, go make something weird. Keep your favicons simple. And we will catch you next time.
Take care.
Spoken Tech for your ears.